Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into the surprisingly counterintuitive psychology behind exactly how we praise our kids. I mean, we all want to build up our children's confidence, right? We want them to feel capable and deeply loved. But sometimes, even our best intentions can backfire in ways we literally never expected, especially when it comes to how we talk about their intelligence.
So think about this. Does telling children they are smart actually make them afraid to learn? I know, it sounds crazy. It sounds like the absolute ultimate compliment, spoken out of deep love and pride. But what if this exact phrase is secretly creating a massive fear of difficult work? What if, instead of resilience, it's building a really fragile identity? It's a completely fascinating paradox, and it's exactly what we're going to unpack for you today.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the trap of smart, the effort illusion, process over person, the 5-part plan, reframing mistakes, and finally, a quick 7-day audit. Let's explore how to shift from those fragile, smart identities to a truly resilient learning process. Starting right off with Section 1, the trap of smart, and how labels actually create fear.
So let's start with a super common, really loving family scenario that actually hides a pretty big trap. On the one hand, you have easy success. A child brings home a perfect score, the parent smiles and says, "Wow, you're so smart." And the child obviously feels incredibly proud of that label. But wait, look at the flip side. Later on, when they face a difficult task where success just isn't immediate, that same child hesitates. They might hide their confusion or even avoid the work altogether. Why? Just to protect that smart label. When a kid connects their whole identity to easy success, a sudden struggle feels like a direct threat to who they fundamentally are.
It's exactly like this quote says. If being smart means getting the answer quickly, then struggle can feel like evidence that the child is not smart after all. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that repeated label praise actually teaches a child that success proves their worth. And the terrible flip side? It implies failure disproves it. They basically start believing that truly capable people should never need to struggle, which leads them to pick easier tasks where they know for sure they'll win.
Which brings us to Section 2, the effort illusion, and why just telling them to try harder really isn't the answer either. Naturally, a lot of parents figure out this smart trap and pivot to praising raw effort instead. But listen, repeating the exact same mistake for an hour with a completely ineffective strategy, that's just exhaustion. That's not learning. Telling a kid who lacks the right strategy or who missed a core prerequisite skill to just try harder basically just piles on a brand new form of crushing pressure. The goal here isn't to celebrate exhaustion for the sake of it, right? We want to help them actually understand how the learning happens.
Moving on to Section 3, process over person. Here's how we actually shift that focus. To build real, lasting resilience, we have to look past static identity and past just raw effort. Look at the breakdown here. Person praise relies entirely on identity, things like you are brilliant or you're the math child. Then you have effort praise, which focuses on action alone. You worked so hard, which, is nice, but it completely leaves them without direction. Now check out process feedback. You organized your ideas before writing, or you notice the pattern in the numbers. This is a total game changer. It works because it hands the child actual, reusable information instead of a static judgment about their identity. It makes room for the struggle, meaning they can be having a tough time right now, but still know exactly which effective strategy to pull out next.
All right, Section 4, the 5-part plan. This is our learning-focused feedback framework. Now that we really get the power of process language, let's unpack a highly actionable toolkit that you can use every single day. Step 1. Observe before praising. Like literally look for what they actually did. Did they double-check their work, use a new tactic? Step 2. Describe that specific behavior out loud. Instead of the generic, awesome job, tell them exactly what you saw. Step 3. Connect that behavior to their actual progress. Step 4. Include reflection by asking them what worked. And crucially, Step 5. Keep the relationship larger than the performance. This 5-step plan takes feedback from a quick throwaway judgment and turns it into a collaborative, genuinely curious conversation about learning.
Let's look at an example in action. Saying something like, breaking the assignment into sections helped you finish. By explicitly connecting a very specific choice to a positive outcome, you're teaching them exactly what to replicate the next time they face some massive, scary challenge. It completely upgrades great job into, here is exactly why you succeeded, and here's your tool for tomorrow. Okay, Section 5, reframing mistakes and how we remove the shame. Because, let's be real, even if your process praise is totally perfect,
mistakes are just inevitable. How could you miss that? You knew this yesterday. Look, we have all felt the urge to say something exactly like this out of sheer frustration, right? But dramatic, snap reactions like this instantly mutate a simple, everyday error into a full-blown identity threat. It makes the mistake feel like a deep personal failure, and that's when a child just completely shuts down.
Compare that stress to this approach. Let's find where the answer changed direction. What does this mistake tell us? Look at how that elegantly flips the script. It turns the mistake from this horrible source of shame into a super valuable piece of investigative data. It invites your child to be a curious detective of their own work instead of feeling like a victim of their own error.
This brings us to a concept called mistake analysis. It's basically the incredibly useful act of figuring out if an error was a knowledge problem, an attention problem, or just a checking problem, all without attaching any sort of identity judgment to it. The absolute key here is that a mistake should always lead to a next action. Maybe they need their workload adjusted. Maybe they just need a bit of specialized teaching. But it should never be framed as a personal indictment of who they are. Finally, Section 6, the 7-day audit. Let's put this into practice.
To ground all of this amazing theory into your real life, here is a brilliant week-long practical challenge. For the next 7 days, just track your feedback. Don't aim for perfection, just identify what you're naturally saying out loud. Are you throwing out identity labels like "you're so smart" or general praise like "great job"? Maybe you're already doing process feedback like "you checked your answer" or using reflective questions like "what helped you solve it?" Just by keeping tabs on the everyday things you say, you'll quickly uncover your own default patterns around achievement.
Then, at the very end of the week, make one change. Just one. Add an observation, ask a reflection question, or analyze a mistake without any criticism. Now, to be clear, the goal of this explainer isn't to completely ban the word smart. Warmth and genuine joy in their success are absolutely still so important. The goal is just to ensure your overarching message highlights observable growth and strategy, rather than constantly protecting a fragile label.
I love you when work is easy, difficult, successful, or unfinished. Wow. This is quite possibly the single most vital takeaway of our entire time together today. Children desperately, fundamentally need to know that your affection, your respect, and their sense of belonging do not depend on their speed, their grades, or appearing effortlessly intelligent. You absolutely must keep the relationship larger than the performance.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, really profound thought to chew on. Are your words right now protecting a fragile label, or are they building a resilient learner? As we wrap up this explainer, I really encourage you to ask yourself how you can tweak your language today so your child feels totally safe enough to be confused, to be challenged, and to know deep down they are still unconditionally loved while they figure it all out. Thanks so much for joining us, and keep learning.